Hi, you're watching Reddit Confessions. The engagement ring was gone. I left it on the windowsill, right where the morning light could catch it. That was intentional. I wanted it to shine. Not for her, but for the exact moment she'd come home with him, giggling in the hallway like I never existed, only to find that sparkle waiting like a silent witness. She thought I was working late. She thought I didn't know. She thought she was clever. But I was watching. Not through anger or hate. I was done with those emotions weeks ago. No, I was quiet. Focused. Some people plan proposals. I was planning an exit. One that wouldn't need screaming, wouldn't need violence. Just timing. Just precision. And it all started when she texted, "Staying out a bit longer with tea. Don't wait up, red heart." She didn't mean for me to see that message. She meant it for someone else, but her fingers slipped. She sent it to me. Her fiancé. I stared at the screen for a while. Not shocked. Not heartbroken. Just calm. Like a puzzle piece had finally snapped into place after weeks of pretending it didn't belong to a different box. I didn't reply. Instead, I grabbed the ring box, walked into the living room, turned on every light, and placed the velvet case right where she couldn't miss it. And then, I turned around and left. But I didn't go far. I sat in my car across the street, headlights off, heart hammering like it had its own agenda. I waited. 42 minutes later, a rideshare pulled up. Out she came, heels in hand, laughing way too loudly. And beside her, some guy I'd never seen before. Tall, confident, his hand on her back like he'd earned the right. She didn't even look at our apartment window. Not until she opened the door. And that's when it happened. That's when everything I'd been waiting for exploded. Because she didn't just find the ring. She found the second box. And the note inside. She didn't notice it at first. The apartment was dark, silent, unnerving in a way she wasn't prepared for. I could see her silhouette pause in the doorway from my car. She turned on the lights, expecting warmth, music, maybe me in the kitchen making some dumb pasta dish like I always did when she got back late. But there was only stillness, and the box. The first one, the ring box, was easy to spot. Open, empty, velvet-lined. It sat like a final sentence at the end of a long, miserable paragraph. But the second box was smaller. Black, unmarked, tucked right underneath the first, with one single note taped across the top, "For the man you chose." From the window, I couldn't hear what she said, but I saw her expression shift from confusion to fear. Her hands trembled as she picked up the second box. She turned around as if expecting to find me hiding behind the curtain, watching. But I was outside, just beyond the reach of everything. And then came the part one still replay in my head at night. She opened it. Just like I knew she would. Inside wasn't anything expensive. Nothing cruel. Just a stack of photos. Screenshots. Printouts. Her texts. His messages. Her laughing at me. Him mocking me. Proof of their lies. And a copy of the apartment lease termination letter, signed by me. The final item in the box. A USB. Labeled simply. "You never noticed the camera, did you?" She dropped it. Hands shaking. Her knees buckled against the edge of the coffee table. The guy, her new man, walked in behind her, smirking, probably expecting a playful scene, maybe even a drunken laugh. Instead, he stopped cold. She turned, wide-eyed, pale as chalk, and whispered something to him. He looked around like he suddenly felt watched. And he was. I watched both of them from my car, headlights still off, engine silent. She picked up the USB and stormed toward the laptop. That old silver MacBook she said she only used for work. It was still on the dining table. She plugged it in. And that's when her whole body changed. I could see it in the way her shoulders stiffened, the way her mouth hung open for a few seconds before she covered it with both hands. He leaned over to look at the screen and jerked back like he'd been slapped. He started yelling. Not at me. At her. He shoved the chair, demanded to know if she knew the whole time. And I realized something important in that moment. He thought she was the one who set him up. But I did. Quietly. Meticulously. Without ever raising my voice. I left the camera rolling the entire time she said she was working late. It wasn't revenge. Not yet. It was truth preservation. She grabbed her phone and called me. I let it ring. Then again. Then a text. "Lol. Please, where are you? We need to talk. I didn't mean for this to happen. Why would you do this?" But it was the fourth message that really got me. "What's on the USB? What did you show him?" She was spiraling. And I was calm. Finally, the man she left me for was now pacing back and forth in my living room. yelling at her, pointing fingers, grabbing his coat. He wasn't her escape anymore. He was her reality. And it was cracking. But what she didn't know, what she still didn't know, was that the USB only had half the truth. The other half was in the envelope I left at her parents' house that same morning. And that's where this story starts twisting even harder. The thing about betrayal is that it's never just between two people. It ripples outward, quietly poisoning everything it touches. And in Kinley's case, the ripples were about to hit her parents. The two people who always looked at me like I was their greatest relief. Like I was the man who'd finally ground their impulsive, storm-chasing daughter. Turns out, I was just the next casualty. That Saturday morning, before I ever placed the ring on the windowsill or the USB in the black box, I paid a visit to her childhood home. Her father answered the door in socks and a college football hoodie, still chewing his breakfast. I didn't ask to come in. I just handed him the envelope and said, "You're going to want to open this before the weekend's over." He looked at me like I was joking, confused, maybe even insulted, but something in my face must have told him I wasn't bluffing. I didn't stick around. I didn't need to. I knew what was inside. Screenshots, photos, copies of receipts, timestamps, all labeled and dated like a legal file. But the real gut punch. The last page. A printed guest reservation under her name and his for a luxury getaway cabin. The same weekend she told her mom she was helping plan her sister's baby shower. I don't know what part of me wanted her parents to see it. Maybe it was cruelty. Maybe justice. Or maybe I just wanted someone who loved her to feel what it was like to be lied to by her. The way I had for months. Back in the apartment, she was unraveling fast. The texts kept coming, the missed calls stacked up. I kept my phone face down on the dashboard and just watched. Then my phone buzzed, not from her, but from an unknown number. "Hi, this is Darla, Kinley's mom. We got your envelope." That was all it said. No anger, no confusion, just acknowledgement. A quiet recognition that their golden daughter wasn't who they thought she was. I hadn't even finished reading the message when another car pulled into the complex. She ran out onto the balcony, barefoot, mascara smeared under her eyes. Her voice echoed faintly in the cold air. I couldn't hear the words, but I saw the desperation in her gestures. The way she leaned over the rail like someone who'd just realized the building was on fire, and the door had locked behind her. The man she'd betrayed me with was gone, left without a word. He didn't slam the door. He didn't even argue. He just walked out, got in his car, and vanished, like he'd realized in one moment that whatever game he was playing had become very, very real. And that's when she broke. She grabbed the ring box, threw it against the floor. The crack echoed like thunder even from the street. She kicked over the table, screamed something guttural, and dropped to her knees. Her hands clutched her hair like she could rip the guilt out by force. It wasn't a meltdown. It was a collapse. A total emotional implosion. And I just sat there, numb, not satisfied, not triumphant, just hollow. She had destroyed something I built with care. Not just our relationship, me, my trust, my sense of reality. And now, watching her break down, I realized I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. But freedom's a strange thing when it comes after pain. You don't feel it right away. You don't celebrate. You mourn. And then you rebuild. Brick by brick. Truth by truth. So I started my car. I pulled away from the curb. And as I turned the corner, leaving her screaming in the wreckage of her own making, my phone buzzed again. "Lowell, please. I didn't know it would get this far. Just come back. We can talk." But she was wrong. It didn't get this far. She brought us here. All on her own. And the final piece? The part that would leave her more shattered than anything I'd done so far? That was waiting in a letter. One I'd mailed to her office 2 days earlier. A letter she hadn't opened yet. The envelope was pale blue, Kinley's favorite color. It looked soft, gentle, like something that might hold an anniversary card or a handwritten love note. I chose that on purpose. I wanted it to feel familiar in her hands, to give her a second of comfort before it tore through her like a blade. I mailed it 2 days before everything went down, addressed to her office with no return label. I knew her routine. She always checked her mail mid-morning, usually during her second coffee break, when her guard was down and her mouth full of caramel latte. I pictured it so clearly, her flipping through envelopes, rolling her eyes at junk mail, and then pausing when she saw her name written in my handwriting. The letter was only 1 page, typed in black ink, perfectly centered. No insults, no emotion, just facts. I told her that I knew about Theo, his real name, where he worked, the details of their cabin weekend. I mentioned the Thursday she said she was with her mom, but instead, her location data showed her at his apartment. Yes, I had access. She gave me the password once, years ago, and forgot. I remembered. I told her I had spoken to someone. Someone she never expected, Theo's wife. Yes, he was married too. I found her through a mutual tag in an old post. Reached out. Carefully. Gently. Told her I had something she needed to see. At first, she didn't believe me. Who would? But then I sent her a few screenshots, just enough to shift her world off its axis. She cried. I could hear it through the phone. She asked if I hated her husband. I told her no. Not anymore. Because hate is heavy, and I was done carrying things that didn't belong to me. The letter ended with this. You turned our home into a lie, our memories into excuses, and our future into a punchline. I won't fight you. I won't shame you. I will just disappear, and you'll never know peace until you're honest with yourself. I didn't sign it. She'd know it was from me. Back in the present, as I sat in a diner half a city away, my phone vibrated again. Not a call. A voicemail. Her voice, trembling, messy, full of panic. She'd opened the letter. Lowell, please. I don't know what you want from me. I don't even know who I am anymore. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never thought it would spiral like this. Please, just call me back. We can fix this. We can undo it. Undo it? There's no Control plus Z for betrayal. I watched the steam rise from my coffee and said nothing. I let her words hang in the air, floating over the formica table like smoke from a fire she'd started with her own hands. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Her world was already burning. Mine was finally quiet. But there was one last thing she didn't know, and it wasn't in the box, or the letter, or the USB. It was something much deeper. Something she'd buried a long time ago and thought I'd never find. But I did. And what I found would make everything that had already happened look like a warm-up. I wasn't looking for it. Honestly, I was just cleaning out the storage closet, throwing things into boxes for donation. Old books, a broken blender, a pair of hiking boots she bought me that I never wore. But there it was, tucked into a leather-bound notebook I hadn't touched in years. A photo strip from one of those old mall booths, curled at the edges. Not of us. Not of Kinley and me. No, it was her. And someone else. The problem wasn't the picture. It was the date. Dated 3 months into our relationship, when things still felt like magic, when she was waking me up with coffee and little notes on the bathroom mirror. Back when she used to laugh at my terrible jokes and actually mean it. I flipped the photo over. In her handwriting, that bubbly looped script I used to adore, it read, "You always bring me back to life." I stared at that line for a long time. My face didn't move. My hands didn't tremble. I was past all that now. But something shifted inside me. A final, invisible thread snapped, and I understood the truth I had been avoiding for too long. She'd never been mine. Not really. Not completely. She had been splitting herself across lives since day one. Maybe longer. I went back to the photo. Zoomed in. The guy looked familiar, but I couldn't quite place him. It wasn't Theo. This was someone else. Someone older. A little worn around the eyes. I scanned our social circles in my head. Nothing. Then I did something I hadn't done in weeks. I logged into our shared cloud storage. The one she forgot about because she barely used it. I typed his face into a reverse image search. And then it hit me like a brick wall. His name was Harrison. Her ex-fiancé. Not ex-boyfriend. Not some high school fling. Her ex-fiancé. The one she swore had moved out of state. The one she told me cheated on her. The one she claimed never to speak to again. According to the search, he lived 20 minutes from our apartment. Still in town. Still around. Still very much real. I scrolled through his social feed, and there it was, plain as day, photos of him and Kinley. Not romantic, not overt, but always suspiciously close. Group dinners. Work events. And one from last year that made my blood go cold. A private birthday party, where Kinley had told me she was stuck at a training retreat, with no cell signal. She was there, smiling, and standing right beside him. I felt sick. All this time, I had focused on Theo like he was the beginning of her betrayal. But he wasn't. He was just the most recent chapter. There had been others. Kinley had mastered the art of partial truths, of emotional sleight of hand. And I was her willing volunteer, applauding the act while she made my dignity disappear. I leaned back in my chair, phone still in hand, 100 tabs open in my brain. And then, without even thinking, I sent the photo to her. No caption, no context, just the photo strip and the timestamp. It didn't take her long to respond. Where did you get that? I didn't reply. 5 minutes later. Lowell, it's not what you think. 10 minutes after that. Can you just call me? Please. And then finally. Fine. Yes. I never stopped talking to him. But it was nothing. I was confused. I didn't mean to hurt you. But that was the thing. She did mean to hurt me. Maybe not all at once. Maybe not intentionally at first. But by the time she chose lies over truth, again and again, the damage was deliberate. I closed my phone. And for the first time in weeks, I smiled. Not because I was happy, but because I finally had the full picture. Except I didn't. Because there was still one message left unread. From Harrison. And what he told me next changed everything. I don't even know why I opened the message. I was planning to delete it, chalk it up to one more ghost from Kinley's past trying to crawl into mine. But something about it felt different. Maybe it was the timing or the fact that it was only one line in the preview. You need to hear this from me, not her. Against my better judgment, I clicked it. The message was longer than I expected. No fluff. No apologies. Just raw. Lowell, I'm not reaching out to defend her. I honestly don't think she deserves that. But I'm reaching out because I think you've been lied to on a much deeper level than you realize. Kinley and I didn't just stay in touch after we broke off the engagement. We never really broke up. She told me you were just someone to help her reset her life. That she needed someone stable, quiet, manageable. Her word, not mine. My stomach flipped. That word, manageable. It's exactly how she used to describe her old job, her nail tech, her monthly budget. Things that didn't matter enough to fight over. That's what I was to her, predictable, safe, a placeholder while she kept one foot in the world she couldn't let go of. But Harrison wasn't done. She never told you about the baby, did she? I stopped breathing. I blinked at the screen like maybe I misread it. 4 years ago, before she met you, she got pregnant. She didn't want to keep it. I did. We fought. She ended things with me, said I was trying to trap her. But that wasn't the truth. She lost the baby, miscarriage. She just didn't want to admit it. She carried that grief like it was a badge she refused to wear. I only found out by accident, through a mutual friend who worked at the clinic. She cut me off completely after that. Said if I ever told anyone, she'd ruin me. I sat frozen. I couldn't feel my legs. I couldn't tell if I was angry or heartbroken or both. Kinley had carried all of that pain in silence. But instead of healing, she weaponized it. She manipulated people who genuinely cared for her. She turned loss into leverage. There was more. I only stayed around because I thought, maybe, one day, she'd come back. But watching you two together, I realized something. She doesn't love people. She loves control. You were never competition to me. You were protection for her. Insurance that someone would always be waiting in case things with me blew up again. And that's not love, Lowell. That's survival, at someone else's expense. Yours. It was the kind of message that doesn't just clarify things, it rewrites the whole story. I sat in that moment, quiet. Not sad. Not broken. Just awake. Harrison wasn't trying to save her or himself. He was giving me the one thing Kinley never could, the full truth. And now that I had it, there was only one thing left to do. No dramatic confrontation. No final monologue. I was done giving her stages to perform on. So I wrote my own message. Short. Simple. I know everything. Please don't contact me again. I hit send and blocked her number. Then I booked a one-way ticket to Colorado. Somewhere quiet, somewhere new. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I just packed a single bag and left the wreckage behind. But just when I thought the story was over, I got a call from an unknown number 2 weeks later. A woman's voice. Shaky. Almost whispering. Lowell? You don't know me, but I think I'm Kinley's sister. And there's something you need to know. I almost didn't answer. The number was unfamiliar, the hour was late, and I was standing barefoot in a strange kitchen in Colorado, halfway through assembling a bookshelf I'd bought from a thrift store. It was supposed to be a fresh start, one where the only voice I heard was my own again. But when I picked up and heard the woman on the line whisper, Lowell, please don't hang up. I'm Kinley's sister. Everything in my body went cold. Her name was Marin. She sounded nothing like Kinley. Her tone was steadier, her words less rehearsed. She wasn't calling to defend her sister. She wasn't calling for drama. She was calling because, as she put it, I think she's going to do something desperate, and I need you to be prepared. I braced myself. I didn't want to care. I wanted to let the silence swallow this whole conversation, but the part of me that once loved Kinley, the part that still felt the shape of her absence, couldn't disconnect. She told our parents that you blackmailed her, Maren said. That you staged everything. The photos, the messages, the USB. She said you manipulated her into breaking down. I felt my jaw tighten. That's not true. I know. She replied without hesitation. That's why I'm calling you. I saw the footage. I know about Harrison. I know everything. But Kinley's version of reality bends whenever she's cornered. And she's cornered now. I leaned against the counter, the weight of her words pressing into my shoulders. I asked Maren how she found me. She admitted she'd guessed. Said Kinley once mentioned I dreamed of living in Colorado. She started calling hotels and Airbnbs in the area under a fake name until she got lucky. That, somehow, was more chilling than the phone call itself. She's not well, Lowell, Maren added. But she's not going to break down quietly. She's rewriting the story, and you're the villain in it. She's even talking about legal action. Claims you invaded her privacy, that the USB was a setup. I exhaled through my nose, steady and slow. I didn't record anything illegal. It was my apartment, my property, my life. I know, Maren repeated. But truth doesn't matter to her when she's losing control. And right now, she's losing everything. Her job, her reputation, maybe even our parents' trust. There was a pause. Then Maren's voice softened. I'm not calling to scare you. I'm calling to say thank you for finally showing everyone who she really is. I've tried for years, but no one listened. You did more with one envelope than I could in a lifetime. I didn't know what to say. Gratitude felt wrong. I hadn't done this for her or anyone else. I'd done it because I couldn't keep living in a lie. Because surviving Kinley's web meant unraveling every piece of it, no matter who it caught in the crossfire. I just thought you should know what you might be walking back into, Maren said. Even from far away, she's still playing the game. But maybe now, maybe this time, she finally lost. Before she hung up, she left me with one last message. If she contacts you again, don't respond. That's how she keeps people tied to her. Don't give her that power. Just disappear for real. I stood in the quiet for a long time after the call ended, the unfinished bookshelf in front of me, screws scattered like broken promises. I wasn't sure what hit me harder, that Kinley was still trying to twist the story, or that I wasn't surprised at all. But Maren's words rang true. She wasn't calling for drama. She was calling to warn me that even after the curtain falls, some performers refuse to leave the stage. And just when I thought it was over, there was one final twist. Because Kinley didn't just contact me again. She showed up. In person. It was early morning when I heard the knock. Soft at first, almost hesitant. I thought maybe it was the neighbor asking about the parking spot again. But when I looked through the peephole, my breath caught. Kinley. No makeup. No suitcase. Just her, standing there in a windbreaker and jeans, arms crossed like she was holding herself together. Her eyes met mine through the glass. She didn't smile. She didn't cry. She just waited. I didn't open the door. Not right away. I stood there for a long time, wondering what she could possibly say that hadn't already been shredded by truth. But curiosity is a stubborn thing. I cracked the door. Just enough to hear her. I just needed to see if you were real, she said. If this place was real. If you were really gone from my life. I didn't speak. She laughed bitterly. You look different. Like someone who sleeps now. I stayed quiet. Then she added, I'm not here to ask for anything. I know I ruined it. I know I lied. And I know I can't take any of it back. I just wanted to say thank you. That part actually made me blink. Thank you. For not letting me keep doing it. For forcing me to see who I really became. Everyone always enabled me. You didn't. I let that settle between us. She shifted on her feet, glanced over her shoulder, then met my eyes again. You don't have to forgive me. But I'm going to start telling the truth now. Starting with myself. I nodded once. That was all I had left to give. And then, without another word, she walked away. No dramatic goodbye. No begging. Just left. I closed the door, locked it, and leaned back against it. For the first time in what felt like years, I didn't feel dread or doubt or that aching hole in my chest. I felt calm. Not because she was gone, but because I was finally free. I spent the next few days settling into the life I had started building. No shadows trailing behind me. No lies waiting to surface. Just the sound of wind through the pine trees outside my new place and the slow, steady return of peace. I started writing again, cooking for myself. I adopted a rescue dog named Felix who chews everything in sight, but somehow made the house feel alive again. And yeah, I still think about what happened, but not with pain. With perspective. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't fire or fury. Sometimes, it's simply moving on so completely that they become nothing more than a name in a story that no longer belongs to them. And that's exactly what I've done. That's the end of my story. If you've made it this far, thank you. What moment in this journey stood out to you the most? The envelope? The USB? The unexpected knock on my door? Let us know in the comments. We want to hear your thoughts. You've been watching Reddit Confessions, where the truth finally speaks. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your own story. You never know who might need to hear it.